Welcome back, beautiful humans, to another incredible episode of the Gathering Movement. I'm here today with Jamie Jenkins, and we were just laughing about the color difference and how tan Jamie looks.
Oh, I live in the tropics, so I literally get the most perfectly, sunny on my face every day. So that's why.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so grateful that you can be here today. I'm really looking forward to hearing a bit of your backstory. We all have this reason that we entered this world of what we do now. So would you mind taking us down memory lane and giving us a little bit of the backstory of how you entered the work that you do now?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, there are lots of moving pieces to it, but I like to start with literally almost the very beginning because I think it's unique in my story. I grew up in Central Ohio in a really small family in a small community, and from there, I learned these values of caring for other people. Everybody knows their neighbor, but it felt like something wasn't quite me there. And I ended up moving to Philadelphia, which is an amazing city full of diversity and lots of culture and music and expression. And this small town girl in Philadelphia, I was like, wow, everything I thought to be true about the world and who I was and how the world works when I was there was really shaken up. And it didn't feel quite like enough for me. So my university was in a kind of like posh, wealthy area outside of the city. And I decided to move to Kensington, which was one of kind of the poorest and most troubled kind of neighborhoods, let's say, in Philadelphia. And when I was there, I started to see how people live in a totally different reality that I even thought would have existed in the world. And that wasn't enough. I thought, okay, so this is another group of people and this is a different way to live. I ended up getting a degree in sociology to be able to understand people better. And then I got an MBA in international economic development because I thought I want to move even further outside the world and learn about other people in different places. So I ended up moving to Quito, Ecuador, which is where I'm connecting from today. And I worked here for several years in international economic development, helping people through projects that would reduce poverty. And that still wasn't it. When I became a business consultant, I was able to pivot into that career. And honestly, this coincides with some of the things I'm going to tell you about how we can use adversity to fuel personal growth, because that coincided with some hard things that happened in my life. And then the business consulting was amazing because I learned how to help people transform their companies and their cultures. And that still wasn't it. And Bridget, by this time, I was like 33 years old. And I honestly, my dream career was working in a prestigious nonprofit organization, which I achieved by the time I was 33. I was a country director of a very prestigious nonprofit organization. And I was helping people. It was good work by every measure, things that made the world a better place, which has always been really important to me. But it didn't feel like it was enough. And, I'm a mother. I have a 12-year-old daughter. And I eventually was able to allow myself to come back into my own body, my own desires, and think about what is it that I really want to do. And I realized that my greatest purpose is helping people be their best selves. And I particularly feel drawn to helping women who've gone through really hard times, kind of mixed in with all those stories I've told you about what, my evolution of kind of getting to where I am. There were a lot of hard times and I was very alone in the midst of a lot of them. And I don't think that anyone needs to go through really hard times alone. There are enough of us that have been through it before. There are tools and resources and people and ideas that can just make it so much easier to move through those hard times. So now I dedicate myself to online events, bringing together highly qualified life coaches and wellness practitioners, motivational speakers, and creative type people as well, to really create virtual experiences that can help women get those tools and take a next step and moving forward from whatever adversity or challenge happened to them to creating a better version of themselves for the future.
I love hearing the journey because I believe that we are all storytellers and we can really see and find ourselves in each other's stories. We make sense of our lives when someone else tells the story. And this word adversity So many people experience situations, challenges, events related to adversity, overcoming something, handling a death, navigating an illness. We all have this as part of the human experience in many cases. So I'm curious for you, what were some of the most pivotal moments where you knew you were here to help women move through those types of challenges in their lives?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Well, one thing that I've come to believe and see over the course of my life and experience is that life gives us gifts. Some of the gifts, when they're delivered on our doorstep, are beautiful. We open them up and we're immediately grateful because it's so clear the joy and the possibility that comes from this gift. And sometimes open the door, there's a gift, and it's not one that we want.
Yep.
And unfortunately, life doesn't have very nice return policies. In fact, there's not a return policy on the gifts that life gives us. So I like to use that analogy because when life delivers us a gift, be it I don't really believe in good or bad gifts, but when life delivers us a gift that maybe we wouldn't have wanted, I think the first step in being able to turn adversity to advantages is just accepting that the situation is here. Not ruminating too long on, like, why did I get this damn gift? Oh, it's like I wouldn't have wanted that to happen to me. It's terrible, it's inconvenient, it's painful, it's sad, it's tragic, it's unjust. But accept in the sense, not in the sense of being passive, accept in the sense of just realizing that this has happened. This is a reality, and now I have to deal with it. And not ruminating on it, because I think that keeps us stuck in that victim kind of mentality of, or even just the logic, trying to figure out why did this happen? That's also not useful. So 5 gifts that were delivered to my porch of life that I would not have asked for, but I've come to over time be grateful for, and see, looking back, the dots always connect, right? I think it's Steve Jobs that says that. These are 5 gifts of adversity that happened to me that I'm really grateful for. 1, losing my dream job. So I told you in the story there, I had, by 33, I was the director of a really freaking awesome nonprofit. It was the job I'd wanted without having a title for it since I was 14. And one day to the next, the company decided that they were going to leave Ecuador, shut down the office here, leave really the region of Latin America, and reprioritize their investments in other parts of the world. And this was the best team I ever worked for, with the best leadership I'd ever worked for, with the purpose, the mission of the company, the most aligned with anything I'd ever felt. And I didn't know what to do. And it coincided with the timing of getting divorced and becoming a single mom in a foreign country, which you can imagine the complications socially, just of, there's not a social net for me here. Or at the time there wasn't, let's say. So that was extremely complicated. And in the moment, I couldn't see anything but what I'd lost and how hard it was, and what the hell was I going to do, and how was I going to get through it? But now on the other side of it, what was the gift of that? That allowed me to find my true purpose, of creating these spaces for helping women through adversity. And something it gave me before that, like I said, those 7 years of doing business consulting, that gave me 7 years, Bridget, of being able to be with my daughter and raise her. And because with consulting, you have a lot of flexibility with your schedule, and it pays quite well. So I was able to be with her. And for me, parenting is really a sacred duty or sacred responsibility that we have. And I'm just so grateful that I've been able to be there from the time she was about 5 until 12, really pick her up from school every day, make her meals, be able to spend time with her and not have to shovel her off because I've got too much to do with work, for instance. But that's an incredibly meaningful gift. Another one, this one's kind of silly, but it was really important for me. There was a time in my life when I was completely immobile for 3 months. I had really, really broken my ankle in a really screwed up kind of way, and had a cast on, and I had to walk with crutches. And I was basically holed up in my home, and still having to figure out how to take care of my daughter, who was a baby at the time. My ex-husband at the time was finishing his PhD. So all of kind of the homework, as well as my career in the moment, had to figure out how to do it in this very painful, gimped up kind of state. And I was so depressed and so sad. And I saw myself getting, not that these things matter, but I was getting fatter and like looking looking awful, felt awful, didn't feel clean because I couldn't get in the shower properly without putting a plastic bag around my stupid cast and all these things. It was awful. And then, but the gift of that situation is after that, I remember the day that the physical therapy person was like, the cast was off. I'd been doing physical therapy like another 3 months down the road. And he said, okay, you can, I was on one cast. He's like, you can leave the other cast. You're good. And I'm like, I can walk now without the cast. He's like, yeah, try. And I was doing it and I could. And I left my, my crutch. Sorry. I left my crutch in the doctor's office that day because I was like, I am never going back to feeling like I am not strong enough in my body. And that kickstarted what is now an absolute passion for fitness and being strong. And I've been able to also, by modeling that, get my daughter inspired as well about fitness. And her father also does that as well. But what a gift, because how many years before that was going to the gym a struggle, was getting up to run or bike a struggle. And now I do those things with such joy and such drive, because I know what it's like to be incapacitated. And even though it was hard at the time, that was so important. And a third gift, how are we doing on time? I've got 3 more.
You're good. You're good. I love this. I love this. It's reminding me just of the importance of perspective, because you had a choice with all those 2 things that you just said, to either be down on yourself. And I'm sure there were moments of it, like, what the hell? Why is this happening to me? This sucks. But you had the ability to shift the perspective and say, what if this is the greatest gift? And I think that's what this conversation is really allowing people to realize here today. So yes, continue. Okay. I'm so jazzed.
I'm glad. So the next gift delivered to my doorstep that I never would have asked for, but there it was, and I couldn't send it back, was getting divorced. My marriage for a long time it was never a marriage that was wonderful. It was just okay. And it was always okay. It was never quite toxic or anything like that. But the moment came when the decision needed to be made, and things went through my head again. As living in a foreign country, it's a little bit more complex situation, even with visas and things like that. So I'm thinking, I don't want to give my daughter, you don't want a kid to grow up in a divorced family. There's some stigma around that. You think they're never going to have an intact family. It's going to be different and sad, and she's losing something and I'm losing something. Will anybody ever love me again, or whatever? All these things that, we're imagining all these things before they even happen. And there's a lot of collective story around divorce also that I think we inherit and we carry, and we're feeling very tragic about the thing. But the gift that divorce gave me, and in some ways I'd like to say even gave my daughter, she was in a family where 2 adults didn't love each other and they weren't happy together. And we loved her, but we were stressed. And she wouldn't see, and wasn't able to see back then, what it's like for 2 adults to love each other, to be there for each other. Neither of us was modeling a happy family model for her. So the whole feeling of like loss of, we didn't give her a happy family. Well, we actually hadn't, even when we were married. You know what I mean? It's not like the divorce made it so. It was already so. So again, coming back to just accepting, this is where we're at. There's nothing to be done. This is the situation as it happened. So I can only move forward. And now really the gift that came from it, and these gifts of adversity, the problem is they take time to see what they do to help us on our journey of growth and joy. But as this gift has evolved over time, and my ex-husband, his name is Paul, he's remarried, and the woman he's married is a wonderful human being. And the relationship we have in co-parenting is honestly like, my marriage was crappy, but my divorce and co-parenting with my ex-husband and his new wife is like wonderful. It's so wonderful. And there's so much love and acceptance, and it's not all roses all the time. I think we keep our distance to some degree, which is healthy, but we are committed to supporting each other and supporting my daughter, Isabel, and her growth, and all just showing up in a very positive, caring way. So my daughter, even though she went through a family that got divorced, she now has a model for not just love between a couple, between my ex-husband and his wife, but she also can see how three adults in the midst of something that could have been very complicated are able to all show up in love and grace for her. And I think that that's such a tremendous gift that I'm extremely grateful for, that she has. But I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have expected. I just had to go forward and see what would happen.
I think that also helps her understand and realize that there are healthy communications and relationships, and that's what you're modeling regardless of the divorce.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, you can still show the child that there are healthy ways to communicate in any challenging situation. I mean, that's like the gift of life, like to be able to teach the child that no matter what happens, you have a choice of how you move through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't say that I'm some sort of genius or guru that knowing how to do these things. I think I've just stayed open and been very fortunate that something, I guess, in character, values, or beliefs has allowed some of these gifts to become really blossoming, wonderful things. So the last one we're going to go zoom back in time. So this is the gift of being adopted. When I tell people I was adopted as a baby, a lot of them are like, and you're like, this is freaking 2021. I can't believe we're still stigmatizing adoption. Weird about it. And like, really? But anyway, what's ironic about this one, Bridget, is when I grew up, I honestly, I saw being adopted as a gift because my parents were very, very beautiful in the way they talked about it. They would say, you were chosen. Most parents just have to take the baby that they have, but you were chosen. And I find it funny now because, I do know some mothers that are kind of like, how about their own kids? But anyway, we do with the best we can. So that is something that I've carried with me, that it hasn't been a painful gift in my life. At least when I was a child, it didn't feel painful. As an adult, I've had to deal with it kind of in different ways. But what I see as the beauty in that situation, that for some might sound like a very painful or hard kind of beginning, is so we adopt so many of our family's beliefs and who they are into our identity. And I think that that's a very limiting, in a way, definition of who we are, because each of us has so much potential, like to be more than where we came from, whether it's around values or the history of a family or the religions or the small town that I grew up in. We can all expand and grow to become whoever we want to be in whatever way we want to live our lives. And the gift of adoption in many ways is, from the very beginning, I knew that I was a little bit different. I wasn't that story 100%, and that there was always room for me to create who I was in a little bit different way. So I look at that adoption as really being another gift of adversity, so to speak, in terms of helping me find my truest self, live a life that's very much on the path less traveled, and just find who I really am. So those are my 5 kind of gifts that I wanted to share.
I love them. And I was just telling you before we started, I teach yoga on Fridays, and I teach at an outpatient drug rehab center. So most of them are recovering alcoholics. Maybe they've been narcotics users, any type of addiction. And what we focus on today, which is so in alignment with our conversation right now, is where our attention is. Because a lot of the times, if we are getting stuck in the labels or our past experiences and allowing that to dictate who we are as humans and allowing that to be our only identity of self, it's very limiting. And instead, if we choose to focus on something that is growth, or focus on something that brings us joy or breaks down the barriers of what we've accepted as truth for ourselves, it's so powerful. And I'm really impressed with what you've been able to create with Lemon Rebellion. And one of my questions for you is, have you faced any adversity starting this platform and growing and growing?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I am bootstrapping, building this business with, as a solo entrepreneur, really. So some of the adversity I've faced are just the regular business issues of cash flow with big ideas, wanting to run fast, trying to pace myself, looking at what I can do with the resources and the support that I have around me. Also, the inner demons, the voice of the inner critic, really, that says, "Can you? Will you be able?" And that still taunts me from time. Of course, it does. I think that's a lifelong thing, actually.
Yes.
To deal with that. So adversity in the sense of learning how to coexist with, my own inner critic, my own ebbs and flows of energy, and really just honoring myself in the midst of that, and not being hard on myself, just knowing myself and pushing through with the vision, and then also just kind of releasing expectations. It will be and grow in the way that it needs to be and grow. And my vision is clear, my mission is clear. The how will be shown kind of with each step along the way. So, but yeah, it's challenging, but also, am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah.
It's thrilling. It's fucking thrilling, to be honest, because I look at it like, and maybe again, this is one of those attitudes that help. It's all a story. Life is all a big story. So any of those 5 things I told you about, those were chapters. And when you're in the middle of the chapter, you kind of forget that you're in a chapter. You think it's the whole story or the end of the story, and we panic. And I think there's so much power in just realizing, like, there's more story to come. And how do I want this story to be written, no matter what life throws at you? If the big event I'm organizing in September, we've got over 30 speakers, and there are presenters, and they're really amazing people. And what happens if one of them drops out? What happens? I'll find another amazing person. I will write the story based on how I want the ending to go, where I want it to go, and I want it to be of service to people. And any little thing that happens along the way that's a challenge, it's just an obstacle to overcome. It's something to bypass. It's not the end all be all of success or failure. It's about just keep moving forward. That's how I reflect on it.
You said something important also as you were sharing the 5 gifts. It was that in the midst of it, it was hard to see the gift. I think that's really important, because we don't always have this aha in the moment. A lot of the times we have to go through the experience of like shit hitting the fan. Absolutely. And questioning everything, questioning who we are, our values, our choices, everything, and go through some challenge to be able to come out on the other side. It's polarity. We need both. Would we have bliss and joy and understanding if we didn't have anger sometimes? Would we? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we certainly wouldn't be able to see it and appreciate it in the same way, I think. And we need, even though we don't want the polarities, we don't want the bad gifts, they definitely put things in perspective and are part of the experience.
I agree. What would you say, words of wisdom wise, to anyone in the midst, in the shit right now, who is struggling, not seeing the gift? What would you say to them?
I hope you have on boots, first of all. The boots are, the belief in yourself. And even if you aren't fully convinced that you can get through it, lift up the foot and just take one more step. You don't have to know everything, and you don't have to control where it's going. Just take the next step and believe in yourself that things will happen as they need to happen. And all you have to do is just take that very next step and keep writing the story.
Preach. Woo-hoo! Yes. So for anyone listening, I hope that you can feel that message like in your heart and in your soul, because you're never alone on this journey. And one thing that I really admire about you, Jamie, is you are on a mission to bring people together in those moments of adversity, because we're never alone. We are never, ever alone. That's why this is called the Gathering Movement. We are never, ever alone on our journeys. Okay, 2 more questions for you. Okay. Number 1, have you had a really influential teacher, or have you read a book that's been like, oh my God, holy shit, this is the life changer?
Yeah, a couple. I want to name 2. One, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which really, okay, you've heard of that. Yes. That is an incredible book to just focus in on the present moment and be present. There's a lot to it, but I know we're running a bit out of time. The second book, I want to give a shout out to Vishen Lakhiani, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. That book is really a compilation of all of the wisdom and insights that he's gained. He's the founder of Mind Valley, through 17 years in the development industry and talking with a lot of leaders and influencers in the development industry and just putting it all together in a very actionable set of insights and wisdom and concepts. Those two have been very influential for me.
I love it. I'm familiar with Mind Valley. I know some of my clients have done the courses, but I've never dove into it myself. So thanks for that recommendation.
Yeah. So it's very aligned with these kind of concepts, and I think you love it. I love it. Actually, I think I'm going to I'm going to say it now. So actually, the co-founder of Mind Valley, Christina Mandakiani, is one of our keynote speakers at the upcoming Lemon Rebellion Virtual Summit from September 19th to 25th. And that's a huge deal. I haven't shared it yet publicly, but we'll put it out there today. It was just a matter of time before I decided to share it. So I'm thrilled. She's an incredible, passionate, driven woman whose heart really is about, helping people find happiness, becoming their authentic self. And I'm thrilled to have her as part of the event coming up, and just very, very good stuff's happening all around this.
Woo! Oh my gosh. Amazing. I'm so happy for you.
I'm happy for all the people that are going to come, and thank you for that, Bridget. Thank you. I should accept that more gracefully. Thank you. I'm happy as well for myself. But I'm also happy for all the people that are going to attend, because Christina's just one, like I said, of over 30 really incredible, trained, capable female life coaches and wellness practitioners that are going to be not just talking, but guiding the participants through experiences that will help them get new tools and perspectives to be more resilient, to find their joy, to become more authentic, to connect with others in more meaningful ways, to just help accelerate, propel them forward through the adversity so they can get to the other side and use it to fuel their growth and be the badass, awesome women that they were born to be.
Heck yes. Okay, this is like one question, but in two.
Okay.
Short synopsis of Lemon Rebellion, who should come, all that jazz.
Yeah, so short synopsis, Lemon Rebellion is a 7-day online virtual summit from September 19th to the 25th. Who should come? Women that feel maybe stuck with some part of their story. They feel stuck on something hard that's happened to them, or they're going through something hard and they're looking to get inspired and get tools and get perspectives that will help them move through that more quickly. And so they can get to the other side and really be more in touch with their best self, their goals, where they want to go with life. And each of those 5 kind of gifts of adversity in my own life that I shared with you, there was a turning point. And there's always a guide. Like you said, there's a book, there's an idea, there's a something. The idea with Lemon Rebellion is almost, I make jokes, it's almost like having the Costco sampler table, except of like wellness and personal development for women going through adversity. So they can get exposed to a whole bunch of different people and practices at a very accessible cost, and see what feels like resonates for them. For me, my wellness journey really started, believe it or not, with nutrition. And then it became about physical fitness, and it became about later spiritual development and things like that. Some people are going to start through yoga, or start through deep breathing, or some people are going to start through getting their finances in order. And then that feels so good, they want to make a career shift. And then that feels so good, they want to, now they want to travel the world. So these things always start somewhere. And my idea with Lemon Rebellion is just give that sampler table of so many incredibly capable women and ways that we can work on ourselves, that everybody takes away something that feels like growth and insight and support.
I love the Costco visual, because who doesn't love a good Costco run where you go in wanting one thing, right? You will go in wanting one thing and then you spend $300.
Well, because you see stuff that's valuable and you like it.
It's very, very valuable. No, I love this though. I always think that everyone has a different doorway into understanding themselves. Some of us are through food, like you said. Mine was through illness and nutrition and yoga. And then we just keep going and the doorways start opening. So it sounds like for many people, Lemon Rebellion can be this first doorway of realizing who they really are.
Well, everyone is invited. Well, it is a women supporting women event. Men are welcome, but they may feel like some of the content isn't really focused on them. But, for women, everyone is welcome, and we'll have the website up live in 2 weeks, updated with everything for this next event, and tickets will be on sale. We'll have an early bird special. So happy to have anyone who feels like this resonates for them join us.
Beautiful. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share with our community?
Last words, famous last words.
Famous last.
Yeah, sure. An insight, really. I know that when we're going through transitions, it feels hard, like we don't know what's going to happen next. I compare it if you've ever driven a stick shift car and been on a mountain and at a red light, and then when the green light comes and you have to go in a stick shift, the car actually rolls back before it moves forward.
Yep.
And the moment of rolling back is so fucking terrifying, especially if you're a new driver, because you're like, I'm going to hit the guy behind me, or I'm going to roll down the mountain to my death, or whatever. And I think that these moments of transition or big life changes, they feel like that terror, like how far back am I going to go before I am propelled forward? And so I just leave, I guess, close with this word of encouragement that hang on, look for any evidence that you can that things are going your right way. You are strong enough and capable enough, and that rollback is only a second. And you can use adversity to really rocket fuel power your growth if you just choose to look for that and move in that direction.
Beautiful analogy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget, for having me. It's lots of fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you everyone for supporting this mission, this movement of thought leaders, visionaries, empowering us to really just be the leader of our lives. Imagine a world where more people realize how cool, how capable, how enough that they truly were. So thank you all for being here. Have a beautiful weekend. And thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
What a pleasure. Bye, everyone. Thank you.